Thankfully, John Fetterman is okay. And he let us know by posting on X today that he is out of the hospital. He did get some stitches. His face does look a little banged up from, falling on it. And he likes iced coffee. For anybody who is curious, Senator John Fetterman drinks iced coffee. Now, I don't know if you guys saw it. There was this post that was going around on social media claiming that Fetterman was drunk outside of some like water fountain kind of thing and was like peeing in it, and that's how he felt, and that was completely fake. So if you've seen it, please know that was somewhere in Russia. It wasn't even in Pennsylvania, anywhere where Fetterman actually was. It was not him at all. It's fake. But a lot of fake shit is posted on the internet on a daily basis. And we'll get to that in just a second, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. But first, let's talk about Fetterman here. So he posted, he said, 20 stitches later and a full recovery. I'm back home with Giselle, which is his wife, and the kids. He says, I'm overwhelmed plus profoundly grateful for all the well wishes, which we're going to talk about also in just a second. Truly grateful for UPMC for the incredible medical care that put me back together. Thank you so much. See you back in DC. Now, that's great. I am personally very happy that John Fetterman is feeling better, that the tumble that he took did not cause significant damage and everything else. But I would like to point out that there are more people on the Republican side posting on social media about how happy they are that he is okay than there are Democrats. And if you watched not yesterday's video, but the one before here, or even on other channels, a lot of people have talked about this the last couple of days because it's very blatantly obvious to majority of people that the Democrats have been wishing, death threats and strokes and everything else on Fetterman. He talked about it himself in his book that he put out. He talked about it on Katie Couric, which we've already discussed her, which we're going to discuss again in just a second. We discussed how she tried to basically get Fetterman to drag Charlie Kirk, post-mortem, I guess is the right phrase there, which I don't like how that sounds. It feels weird just saying it that way, you know what I mean? But she tried to get him to say very negative things about Charlie Kirk in the interview that she did with him. And Fetterman was like, listen, you're not going to make me say anything negative. We might not agree on everything. He goes, I might not have agreed with everything that Charlie Kirk said. I might not have agreed with all of his views, because you have to remember, Charlie Kirk was a very conservative Republican, whereas Fetterman is technically a Democrat, although he does have Republican tendencies, that man there, because he likes to vote for what's best for the actual citizens of the United States of America, as most Republicans do, and Democrats do not, as you've seen over the 4 years before President Trump took office, when we had Joe Biden and Kamala at the helm there. But anyway, a lot of people have been, well wishes for him. And I saw this article, which did not surprise me. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there was this article that came out on the Times, and it says, John Fetterman, I saved a teenager from jumping off a bridge. And when I read the headline, my first thought was, I believe it. If I had read that headline for like almost 80% of anybody in any political office, I would have been like, bullshit. You're just saying that because there's no proof behind it. You can say anything you want to and you can't prove if it's real or not. That's how I would have felt. If Marjorie Taylor Greene came out right now and said that, I'd be like, bullshit. If Rand Paul came out and said it, bullshit. If Thomas Massey came out and said it, bullshit. But when I see it from John Fetterman, I'm like, I believe it. I'm happy that you were there when this child, or because it says a teenager, that's a child, was going to jump off a bridge. So I have this article here, and it said that Fetterman was driving near his home in Braddock, Pennsylvania, which is also where he took that little rumble tumble after I think it's, if you want to shorten it, it was an AFib situation that he went through and like passed out and stuff. That's where he was, Braddock, Pennsylvania. And he said he saw a teenager leaning under the Westinghouse Bridge. I don't know what the bridge looks like. If I had been thinking ahead, we would have pulled it up so I could show it to you. I did not do that though. He said that kid was literally on the rail and was ready to jump. Picture any bridge that you've ever seen that if a kid or anybody jumped off of it, it could end their lives. I'm going to assume that's what this bridge looked like, right? And it says Fetterman, he talked about his own battles in his book that he has, Unfettered, which I think is kind of a catchy name right there, right? He talked about his own battles with suicidal thoughts and depression. You guys might remember, you might not, that when the Norfolk Southern train derailment happened in East Palestine, Ohio, February 3rd, 2023. It was about like 12 miles-ish away from the border of Pennsylvania, between Ohio and Pennsylvania. And when the derailment occurred, and then Mike DeWine, who was the governor of Ohio, and then the police chief there decided that they were going to leak all the vinyl chloride that was on that train into the ground and then set it on fire. Horrible, horrible idea. They didn't wait for the EPA. They didn't wait for anybody. They decided to take the bull by the horns and, make a horrible decision. Well, when they did all that, a lot of that smoke and everything that hit the waters, the chemicals that hit the waters, the smoke that hit the air, all this stuff went over the Pennsylvania border and into Beaver County, Pennsylvania, where there happens to be a Shell station. A lot of people were worried that there was going to be like a significant mixture between what was going on at the Shell petroleum station, all the stuff that was being leaked from this derailment, and Mike DeWine technically. And they were like, where's Fetterman when we need him? And Fetterman happened to be in the hospital at that time for mental health issues. It wasn't because of the stroke, if I remember correctly. It was because he had checked himself in for the issues that he was going through. So when it says here, he talked about his own battle with suicidal thoughts and depression, it made me think of the Norfolk Southern train derailment, because that's when the people of Pennsylvania like really truly needed him. And he was fortunately, I was about to say unfortunately, and that's not accurate. He was fortunately taking care of himself, doing what he needed to do for himself in his own health, right? His mental health. But they said here, on August 16th, earlier this year, he was parking his car and he looks over at this bridge and he sees this kid and he goes, I thought, what should I do? Because I don't want to encourage him to jump. Which there are some people out there who, if they've been in that mind frame, maybe they would have said the wrong thing and be like, man, I get it. And then, that's it. And then, somebody jumps. He's like, I don't want to do that. He said, I just stopped and I was like, and these are his words, no, you don't have to do this. I'm begging you, please don't do this. It doesn't have to go that way. And he said the kid was startled. He got off the bridge and he started to walk back into town. And so Fetterman's like, I didn't want to call the police. I didn't want to do anything because I hope this kid's okay and that everything's fine. But he didn't want to I don't know if rat him out or whatever is the right word, but he's like, he couldn't have been more than 16 years old and he was going to jump off this bridge. Now, some people could go, how do you know? He could have just been leaning. For somebody in Fetterman's position who has had thoughts like that before, I would have to assume he recognized that, look, you know what I mean? We've all heard it and some of us have seen it. Some of us have felt it, that look of what's the point, or that look of it just takes one whatever to go literally over the edge. And so I feel like if Fetterman says that this is the way this happened, it's because he could see that despair, I think would be the right word, in this kid that was on this bridge. And so I personally am grateful that Fetterman was there. Is one of those right place, right time kind of situations, right? But after I saw that, I was like, man, I personally think Fetterman is a good dude. I know he's a Democrat and we're supposed to be like, boo, hiss, whatever, Democrats. But he is not like the others. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like the rest of the Democrats, and you don't generally believe them. But when Fetterman says it, I believe that. When he was on, like I said, he was on with Katie Couric, and Katie Couric tried to get him to speak so negatively. Afterwards, the White House ripped Katie Couric a new one. They're like, listen, broad, how dare you? So the White House, it says here, they ripped Katie Couric after pressing Fetterman to disavow Charlie Kirk, okay? And it says White House Communications Director Stephen Chung slammed Couric as a washed up idiot after hearing her comments on Charlie Kirk, which when we watched it, my first thought was, what a washed up idiot. And looking a little haggard there, ma'am. And the next thing you know, I bet she's going to be on The View. She's going to replace somebody on The View, and she'll be up there with the rest of those hags running her mouth about absolutely nothing. But it says journalist and podcast host Katie Couric sparred with Senator John Fetterman, Democrat from Pennsylvania, y'all know, on Thursday's episode of her podcast, Next Question, which we talked about yesterday, Friday. We talked about it on Thursday, actually, debating President Donald Trump and Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, prompting a heated response from the White House. So if you didn't watch my video, I'll put it at the end of this one. If you want to watch it, it's a short one, but it's chock full of fun stuff there. So I'll put it at the end of this one if you guys want to watch it. But at one point, Kirk asked whether he thought it was appropriate, if you haven't seen it, we talked about this, that Kirk's body was flown home on Air Force Two, or if it should have been posthumously awarded the Medal of Freedom. She added that some critics felt those honors from the Trump administration were over the top in terms of mourning someone like Charlie Kirk. I don't think she remembers they built a whole statue for George Floyd. So at this point, I'm pretty sure she should shut it. Okay. And I mean that as nicely as humanly possible, with all respect, all due respect. That's how it is. With respectfully or all due respect, whatever. Bless her heart. Okay. Fetterman said it was the administration's choice to make before Kirk pressed him about Kirk's past rhetoric, which she said some would label extreme. It has never occurred to me, and this may just be me, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but it has never occurred to me to listen to a man say that the best thing in the world that a man can have is a wife by his side and children, and think to myself, ew, what extreme rhetoric, how gross. Okay, what? Anyway, but for some reason, people like that. It's just what it does. So Stephen Chung, this is his post. I'm going to show you here. That's his post. I'll read it to you since it's a little hard to see there. He said, this washed up idiot, and he tagged her at Katie Couric. And the tagging of her, I love it. I have Petty Patty living inside me on a daily basis. And every once in a while, she's like, knock, knock. Can I come out and play? I would have tagged her as well, which I do on X. I tag people because it's way more fun that way. But anyway, he said, this washed up idiot Katie Couric is an absolute ghoul. She tries to justify the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk. Disgusting people like Katie should be shamed and embarrassed forever. I agree. So after this, let me just, please hold. I want to share this with you. So then, y'all, this was even better. You guys, I don't know if you remember Chicago One Ray. He got like super popular on X, I believe it was. I don't think it was YouTube. Maybe it was YouTube also. A couple months ago when the truckers were talking about basically boycotting New York City. They weren't going to go into New York City. And it was this like whole big to do. We talked about it a little bit, but he was kind of like the popping off of it because he's a trucker. And he posted on X, he goes, I'm looking at John Fetterman trending after his fall today. And what I see is a lot of well wishes from MAGA folks and none from Democrats. That says it all as to who today's Democrats are. Anytime Senator John Fetterman wants to join, he's more than welcome. And I agree with that completely. And let's see, I want you to listen to what Fetterman had to say if I can get this to play. Hopefully there's not like 18 different volumes coming up. Okay, hold on. We're gonna go here. Wait for it, my lovelies. Hold on. Listen.
Hi, here we are, and our government remains closed. And
this is old, obviously.
Failure. And I'm the guy that's going to consistently vote for country over party. I'm always going to vote for paying our military over the party. I'm always going to vote for paying the Capitol Police over my party. And I'm going to continue to fight for the 2 million Pennsylvanians that depend on SNAP to feed themselves. And I'm also going to fight for the same 400,020 Pennsylvanians that depend on those tax credits to make health insurance more affordable. Two things are...
Now, here's what's crazy to me. I was talking to my husband about this earlier, and I said to him, babe, Fetterman is the type of guy that could bring two sides together. Personal opinion here. Y'all let me know how you feel about this. Because I mean, there's other people out there that you may think that of as well. But I look at Fetterman and I think to myself, he could be that guy that could bring two sides together. Now, Pennsylvania turned red for the election and voted for President Trump. Like that was a huge one. Remember, we were watching the election. I was watching Benny Johnson live. And when Scott Pressler was able to help turn Pennsylvania red and Benny Johnson saw it happen, he flipped his shit and he was jumping up and down and hooting and hollering and whatever else. And I thought it was great because it shows you that there are people out there that are tired of what these current Democrats are, because they're not anything that's beneficial or helpful to the actual people or anybody in general, not even the corporations. Like they're really bad for everybody. But I was thinking that right now, you have Mamdani, who somehow won the vote for mayor in New York City, which starts January 1st, not before, okay? Which we need to talk about that also. So he's been reaching out to talk to other Democrat people to kind of get some ideas and, I guess bat around ideas with or thoughts with. And one of them is J.B. Pritzker out of Illinois. And, I call him the Penguin because he reminds me of the Penguin from Batman. But he's also been talking to what's-his-face from Pennsylvania, Shapiro, the same one who signed his name on the bombs that were sent over to be used in the Ukraine and Russia fight. Okay, he signed his actual name on a bomb that was going to be dropped, that was going to end up killing people. That rubs me so very wrong. I don't love it. That's just me. Anyway, a lot of people are not fans of Shapiro. He was at one point going to be Kamala Harris's running mate before they picked Fruity Tooty over there, Tim Walz. But I think that if it came down to it and Fetterman says, you know what, being a senator has been great, but I really want to help the people of Pennsylvania more, I'm going to run for governor, I bet he would mop the floor with Shapiro if that was the case, because the fact that Pennsylvania flipped red, I think shows that they are tired of people like Ben Shapiro. And yes, although Fetterman is a Democrat, if he were to run as a Republican or even as an independent, I feel like he could still pull the people who want the best for themselves and their state and get the votes from every single political side, whether it's Democrat or Republican, and the ones down the middle. That's just my thought, because he does seem to be a genuinely people first, American citizens first, American people first kind of guy, right? So anyway, I was thinking about that. But then it made me think of, but wait, there's more. It made me think of this post that I saw. I'm just going to show you guys this real quick. It made me think of this post, and it says, it's from Gunther Eagleman, all right? And it has Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it's got Fetterman in it. And it says, as a Republican, would you trade MTG for John Fetterman? Y'all, with the way Marjorie Taylor Greene has gone batshit lately, I'm pretty sure the majority of people would trade her for Fetterman. Now, some people absolutely love her. I personally have never been a massive fan of hers. There are a couple things that she has said and done where I'm like, get it, girl. I love it. But not always, okay? I feel like she's very play the side that will help her the most. That's what I feel about her. Her and Rand Paul at the same time, I think, are very wishy-washy. When MTG went on The View, not a fan of that, because I felt like she went up there to just cause strife and division amongst the Republicans and basically kiss the ass of the hags on The View. And then Rand Paul, he's been posting some stuff up on X. And when I was looking at it, I was like, bro, you don't even say that you're a Republican in your bio on X. Like, you are the Republican senator for Kentucky, and it doesn't say anywhere that you're a Republican. I had to scroll and then Google just to make sure that you were a Republican, because based off the way you talk about Trump and Republicans in general, I would have thought you were a Democrat if I did not know better. I'm not a fan of him. But this is what's going on right now. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, the reason we're talking about her is because, like I said, I would trade Fetterman for her, right? Or I would trade her for Fetterman that way. She has been all over social media for the past couple of hours, basically dragging President Trump, who then in turn was like, two can play this game, drag bitch drag, and dragged her back. It is a whole soap opera right now on social media. And I want to just go over a couple of these things with you. So this is what Marjorie Taylor Greene posted up 20 hours ago. It is now where I'm at. It is 4:51 p.m. Central Time. And 20 hours ago, this is what Marjorie Taylor Greene put up. Listen, okay? President Trump just attacked me and lied about me. I haven't called him at all, but I did send these text messages today. Apparently, this is what sent him over the edge. The Epstein files. And of course, he's coming after me hard to make an example to scare all the other Republicans before next week's vote to release the Epstein files. It's astonishing, really, how hard he's fighting to stop the Epstein files from coming out, that he actually goes to this level. But really, most Americans wish he would fight this hard to help the forgotten men of America, who are fed up with foreign wars and foreign causes, are going broke trying to feed their families, and are losing hope of ever achieving the American dream. That's what I voted for. I have supported President Trump with too much of my precious time, too much of my own money, and fought harder for him even when almost all other Republicans turned their back and denounced him. But I don't worship or serve Donald Trump. I worship God, Jesus is my savior, and I serve my district, GA14, because she's in Georgia, and the American people. I remain the same today as I've always been, and I will continue to pray this administration will be successful, because the American people desperately deserve what they voted for. For me, I remain America first and America only. Now, I would like to point out that it has been about 45 days, I believe, since Marjorie Taylor Greene and I don't remember if it was Rand Paul or Thomas Massie, it was one of the two of them, said that they were going to read the Epstein files, Epstein list, client list out loud on the Senate floor. Hasn't happened. So Marjorie Taylor Greene's getting real pissy right here, but she also has not done what she said she was going to do. Okay, but I want you to listen to these text messages, okay? First off, let me be the first one to remind you, and I'm not trying to say anything here, but let me be the first one to remind you that it says, DJT, there is zero proof that this was to Donald Trump. Okay. I just want to put it out there like that. You can see all kinds of stuff. It doesn't mean that it's real. We've seen a lot of things happening lately that have been faked, lied about, misconstrued on purpose, tweaked to give a certain type of view or whatever else. But okay, that's all I'm going to say. So according to her, she sent this text to Donald Trump, and it said, check the flight logs of Epstein's plane. Bill Clinton is on there like 26 times. Hillary too. For many of us, releasing the Epstein files has always been for the women who were victims of Jeffrey Epstein, but also because we believe that Democrat bad guys like the Clintons were entangled and involved with him. Epstein was the spider that wove the web of the deep state. Lean into it. And it says she sent this at 8:53. And then there's one that says it came in from Natalie, and Natalie is an aide to President Trump. She became his aide in 2025. And it says here that Natalie sent back the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. We don't know what happened before that text, or if this text is real, which I still like to just go ahead and put out there. It says the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, to which Marjorie Taylor Greene says she replied with, in every single interview I have done, I have defended President Trump. I've said over and over, the women say he did nothing wrong and their attorney says he's the only one who helped. And the Democrats have had 4 years to release the files, but did nothing. Stop ignoring the women. Many of them literally voted for President Trump and say so publicly. Them being raped as teenagers is not a hoax. All right, so that's where we're at with Marjorie Taylor Greene. So then President Trump posts this. Okay, you ready? This is his post. I want you to see it so you know I'm not like making stuff up here. This is his post. He says, I am withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of the great state of Georgia. Over the past few weeks, despite my creating record achievements for our country, including a total and complete victory on the shutdown, closed borders, low taxes, no men and women's sports or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, biggest regulation cuts in history, stopping 8 wars, rebuilding our military, being respected by every country in the world, as opposed to being the laughingstock that we were just 12 months ago, having trillions of dollars, record-setting, invested in the USA, and having created the hottest country anywhere in the world from being a dead country just 12 months ago, and so much more, all I see is wacky Marjorie do is complain, complain, complain. It seemed to all begin when I sent her a poll stating that she should not run for senator or governor. She was at 12% and didn't have a chance unless, of course, she had my endorsement, which she wasn't about to get. She has told many people that she is upset that I don't return her phone calls anymore. But with 219 congressmen and women, 53 U.S. senators, 24 cabinet members, almost 200 countries, and a partridge in a pear tree, where am I? Sorry. And an otherwise normal life to lead, I can't take a ranting lunatic's call every day. I understand that wonderful conservative people are thinking about primarying Marjorie in her district of Georgia, that they too are fed up with her and her antics. And if the right person runs, they will have my complete and unyielding support. She has gone far left, even doing The View with their low IQ Republican hating anchors. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. And she commented on something. She was like, oh, you know, President Trump's asking them to primary me, which is not what he said. He said he heard she was going to be primaried. And this is one of those things where I tell you guys all the time that context matters. The way things said are matters. What is said before and after matters. It's not just, and I'm very bad about this, I'm an emotional person. I hear things a certain way sometimes, and to use the word, triggered by certain things, and I think it makes me think a certain way. And I have to step back a lot of times myself and go, read it, look at it, visualize it, listen to it again, take your emotions out of it, take whatever direction you think it's supposed to go or wants to go or whatever out of it, and listen to it to actually hear and understand it, not just to react to it. A lot of times we the people have a tendency to listen to react, not listen to hear or listen to understand or listen to anything else, but just to react, right? Like you're listening to somebody talk, and while they're talking, you're thinking to yourself how you're going to reply to them instead of listening to everything, understanding what's being said, and then determining how you're going to reply. We're a very emotional species, right? Women especially. Ladies, I'm not trying to be like, whatever, but it's true. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a woman, and so she's also an emotional person like the rest of us are. So when she's like, oh, he's trying to primary me, well, he's not. So I think we need to make that distinction. But it's just very interesting with what's going on, because the, listen, it is just very interesting to me what is happening right now with the infighting that seems to be started by MTG, especially while she was on The View and then everything afterwards. And I saw this thing that said MTG and Massey 2028. And I told my husband, I said, I truly feel like the reason that she is trying to talk down or talk bad about President Trump in the way that she does is to try to get people to agree with her so that maybe if she decides she does want to run for something else, she will have some backing and some support. Anything is possible. This says Massey MTG 2028 LFG, like let's fucking go, right? And President Trump had posted, I don't remember when this was, it was a while ago. Did Thomas Massey, sometimes referred to as Rand Paul Jr., which I told you, Rand Paul, because of the fact that he always votes against the Republican Party, get married already? Boy, that was quick. No wonder the polls have him at less than 8% chance of winning the election. Whatever. This was a while ago. But it's just funny that those two names were put together because that seems to be the case. But y'all, here's the one that Marjorie, this is the first one I saw from MTG. She says that she's now being contacted by private security firms with warnings for my safety as a hotbed of threats against me are being fueled and egged on by the most powerful man in the world. The man I supported and helped get elected. Aggressive rhetoric attacking me has historically led to death threats and multiple convictions of men who are radicalized by the same type of rhetoric being directed at me right now. This time by the President of the United States. As a woman, I take threats from men seriously. I now have a small understanding of the fear and pressure the women who are victims of Jeffrey Epstein and his cabal must feel. As a Republican who overwhelmingly votes for President Trump's bills and agenda, his aggression against me, which also fuels the venomous nature of his radical internet trolls, many of whom are paid, this is completely shocking to everyone. My phone is blowing up with constant, amazing support. I'm so thankful. The political industrial complex and the toxic, violent nature of American politics must end. Our country is worth saving. It can only be done if we pull together and save ourselves. I think she started pulling away from President Trump when the One Big Beautiful Bill was coming out because she had a lot of issues with some of the things in there, which I agreed with her on. The one with the AI for 10 years, you can't really touch it. Like the states have no control over what AI has done because what is his name? Sam Altman with OpenAI was being awarded some stuff, and there's a whole lot going on there. And that's when she really started getting a little more vocal about not agreeing with President Trump on things. And since then, it's like the divide has just gotten larger and larger. And I think it's just interesting that the words that she uses is also designed to attack President Trump, and it's also designed to make it seem like he is calling for violence against her, which is not at all the case. I mean, he's not a Democrat. They're the ones who generally call for physical violence. But the phrasing and the way everything is being said, it's a whole entire soap opera right now, which is absolutely crazy. And from the very beginning, a lot of people have said that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a little, woohoo, batshit. But I guess it kind of depends on how you feel about her in general, because I am newer in politics just the last year or so, like 2 years. I don't have enough information on Marjorie Taylor Greene in order to be able to say one way or another. All I do know is that when I have seen her on stuff, she does come across as very erratic and very, look at me, and, finger jabbing type of person. I don't really love it. I don't think I'd want to be in a room and have to have a conversation with her, but that's just me. But anyway, so I saw all those and I just wanted to have the conversation with y'all because it's crazy to me that this is what politicians do. Even President Trump, that he gives even an iota of time to reply to her, to talk about her, that this is what our politicians have turned into is social media warfare amongst themselves. It's like, come on now, like stop. Especially when you have people like Fetterman who won't be taunted and tricked into saying negative things about somebody else. Like he doesn't do it. Why can't more politicians take that same road? That's why I can't be a politician. Some of y'all have been like, you should run for blah, blah, blah. Nope, can't do it because hello, my face will give away everything I'm thinking every single time if my mouth doesn't, because I have a tendency to speak and then think and then go, oh shit, probably shouldn't have said that out loud, but here we are. So me in politics, probably not a good idea. But anyway, that's what I've got for y'all right now. And I'd love to know your thoughts on it. How you feel about I don't know, Marjorie Taylor Greene seems like a lover scorned, but there's no way there was anything going on between her and President Trump. But that's that feel that it gives, right? Like you won't leave her for me, so I'm just gonna crap all over you kind of stuff. Like that's what it comes across as. And it's not a good look, honey boo boo. Like, I don't like it. That's just me. Anyway, y'all, I love you immensely. We'll talk about some more stuff tomorrow if you don't mind. But for now, that's it. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your evening. I love you. Goodbye.